Okay.
The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTRTV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Turn 1 is shaped after the defunct Trenton Speedway that used to be in New Jersey. Turn 2 is shaped after the famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Turn 3 shaped after the Milwaukee Mile. Hard and near impossible to be perfect in all three, but that's what every driver will vouch for this evening and try to take the checkered flag. Welcome everybody to PTR TV, where we are presenting round number 5 of the SSRL Elite Cup Series here again at the Long Pond, Pennsylvania racetrack, Pocono Raceway. Proud to give you the coverage here tonight. Is myself, Corey Silva, in the booth and in the trailer, giving you the footage and the technicals behind the stream, and I have Tyler Orn helping me out tonight with tonight's broadcast. Tyler, welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since we've seen you, but here we are at the Tricky Triangle in the NextGen cars. It was quite the chaotic and controversial finish in the real world last night. Coca-Cola Series had their closest race ever here. Leads us into what should be a great night of racing.
Yeah, the Tricky Triangle, Pocono, while it gets derided sometimes as being a bit of a boring track, it actually leads to a lot of very interesting finishes and strategies. You know, some people describe this track as really more of a road course than an oval, with its unique configuration, you know, 3 separate turns. Everyone knows all about the history of the different banking, and you see sometimes shifting. You'll definitely see some shifting tonight, I would assume, and also some different pit strategies. You can get on pit road and out and usually not lose a lap. So I expect a lot of excitement tonight.
Yeah, exactly the case, and we do have to kind of cut our pre-race show a little bit short. Kind of went live a minute or two later than I wanted to. So just some quick details of the race this evening. We do have our 50% fuel load here. Our Sunshine Boy on Twitch race details. 50% fuel load, 13 incident limit. We do have our stages, our rolling stages. Remember, no caution will be flown, though points will be given at laps 25 and 50. So that will be interesting to see again with 80 laps here. I'm going to take a guess that fuel will probably be 20 to 23 laps. That's going to be my guess. Maybe right, maybe wrong. Well, those are the only possible options. But our point standings, we don't have the graphic ready, but just to quickly go over that, after last week's race at Atlanta, or 2 weeks ago at that photo finish we saw at Atlanta, Timothy Latham, our points leader by, just got to do some quick math in my head here, I believe 28 points over Justin Levine, Jake Hickson, Heath Snyder, and Tanner Marty are top 5. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in here to PTRTV on a Monday night for the SSRL. If you're still new to the series, new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell on the bottom of your screen, and help us out with our goal to hit 1,000 subscribers. Only going to take 2 quick clicks to do that, but the timer is running down here. 3, 2, 1, and this is going to be the end of warm-up. So we are going to get ready and head down trackside and give you the PTRTV starting lineup here today from the Pocono Raceway. All right, on tonight's pole here at the Pocono Raceway with a lap time of 53.716 seconds. We're going to have our points leader of Timothy Latham with Adam Pettit on the outside of the front row. In third, we have Jordan Sailors and Corey Saucier in the 4th spot. In 5th, we have Justin Boyles with Jason Baker rolling off in 6th. In 7th, we have Nathan Nixon, Tanner Marty in the 55 on the outside of row number 4. And then 9th and 10th is Drew Prohl and Byron McDonald.
Starting 11th on the grid tonight is the 06 of Blair Holyman. And to his outside in 12th position, it's Dave Fuge Jr. In 13th, the number 2 of Joshua Campbell. And starting 14th, it's the 66 of Jacob Souza. In 15th, the 21 of Cody Riggs. And starting 16th on the grid, it's the number 9 of Dakota R. Jorgensen. 17th is the 33 of Justin Levine. 18th is the 25 of Chad Guggen's. And rounding out the field in 19th will be the 29 of Heath Snyder.
That is our starting lineup here this evening. We didn't get any pronunciation on the 25, Tyler, so your guess was going to be as good as mine on his name, but hopefully we do find out that in due course. But our keys to the race, sponsored by, we're still looking for a sponsor for it, Handling versus Pack Racing. This was a fact in last week's race, but after watching the Coca-Cola Series race here, I'm going to keep that on the screen because these guys were able to use the side draft, and this next-gen car raced very racy here at Pocono, so I think that's going to be the name of the game, at least on the short run. Easy to self-spin. You saw in the real world how many drivers were getting loose off of turn 3 especially. That has been a theme as well in the virtual world. And shifting, as you said, Tyler, I think we're going to be going down at least to 4th here, probably in turn 3, maybe in turn 1 on the longer runs. And then our weather conditions here this evening, 74 in the air, 97 track, 3-mile-an-hour wind. So weather is going to be on the grippier side. But we're going to come through turn 2, or we'll kind of discuss quarter numbers later. Evan and I have a little running gag about that, and we're going to get ready for some racing tonight.
Yeah, Corey, I would keep an eye out to see some of these guys maybe short pitting, trying different fuel strategies. It's a long way around this track, and I think that you also, when you look at the shifting, maybe some guys using that 5th gear a little more through the turns, saving some fuel.
Yeah, that'll definitely be the case with the fuel load here. Pocono is a track where fuel mileage is the name of the game. The pace car is going to turn in. We are using the Geico restart zone this evening. Entering the restart zone, we'll go on the flagman. Barney's going to wave it, and here we are racing at the tricky triangle. See them fanning out already down the front straightaway. That is what Pocono is most known for, is very erratic starts here as everybody drives off into corner number 1. So far, it looks like Latham is going to have the lead by about a car length or two, but they're gaggling up third on back.
Yeah, we've already got a car, a little bit of contact there with the 51. I'm not sure if he got up in the wall, but they're already jockeying for position as they head down into turn number 2.
Yeah, Pocono is a track where aero push, aero wash is a big deal. The next-gen cars have kind of made it a little bit easier. You will see a little bit more multi-lane racing as well, especially in turn 1, but you still need to evade the aero push, make the passes while the tires are fresh. That's what you're going to want to do. You can see these guys going 3 wide, various lanes through turn number 3 here. The 89 of Drew Pro to the inside of the 90 of Corey Saucier. But look at the drafting on the front stretch, Tyler. If you don't have that draft down the front straightaway, you'll go to make a pass, then end up getting passed.
Yep. And Corey, I just want to make a note. Adam Pettit came onto pit road, and also Justin Boyles, I think, had a late start on the grid. So a couple guys already off to a rough beginning.
At least here at Pocono, as long as it is and as short as the pit road is, you can make a pit stop and not lose a lap. That's actually a strategy in many situations here, both in the real world and virtually, though that may be a little bit different this week. But here comes Nathan Nixon. He's to the inside, or rather, yes, to the inside of Jordan Sailors. The 90 Associate is going right there and following him in that American flag livery on that Camaro. But to the outside, that's going to be the 06 of Blair Holloman. Again, using that draft. If you get to run off a 3, you better have a partner. You better side draft the hell out of it, because otherwise you're going to fall right back in line.
Some people do. I mentioned it being considered a road course by some individuals. This is also, in a way, a super speedway, Corey, because of the long straights and the length of the track. And especially with these new cars, as you mentioned, that draft is so important. It's not quite a Talladega or Daytona level venue, but you want to try and stay with the pack.
Now on board with Saucier now. We've pulled up his telemetry as he's getting passed by the 51 of Baker. He's going to do the crossover. You can see here he's still remaining in 5th gear. Let's see if he does choose to downshift into turn 3. And Holloman's going to use that outside lane. That lane was used quite frequently in the Coca-Cola Series race here, which would dictate that if the pro guys can do it, then anybody can do it. Not working there. I did forget, we do have some sponsor shout-outs. I did forget, that is my bad. We're still getting used to it. Our pole award by the Customer Club Pole Award did, of course, go to Timothy Latham, and he still is running in the first spot. We also do have the ACR Fastest Lap Award, but of course we won't know who gets that award until the end of the race. So other than that, 4 laps in and 2.25 seconds. Latham has already pulled away, absolutely gapping the field very early into tonight's efforts.
Yeah, Latham off to a strong start, but man, you look right behind him, they're battling really hard for about, I'd say, 2nd through 7th, 8th, 9th, even 10th. You know, they get a little more single file as you go further back through the field, but coming off of 3, you know, they're trying to jockey and maneuver, get the run going off into 1.
Yeah. And you can see the run here as we're on the back deck with of Sailors, and Holloman had closed in and didn't choose to make a move. We did follow Saucier the lap before. He did keep it in 5th, but we'll pull up our telemetry stats here for Sailors. You can see he's currently running in 4th gear right now, and he's going to put it into 5th, halfway down that long pond straightaway and down into the tunnel at about 155 miles an hour. He'll slow down to. Let's see if he upshifts on the short chute. Nope, he's going to peg that tack all the way to the top, and he's going to keep it in 4th and get down to about 140 some odd miles an hour, exiting turn 3. And again, the different strategies and ways to get around this place.
And you can see, I believe that was Justin Levine in the 33. It had a really big run coming off of 3, and he just lost it. Now he's getting passed. It's just a lot of momentum on this track, and another driver down there on the bottom. I think we've got some drivers coming in on pit road. I think you mentioned the fuel load, Corey, being in the 20s. Some of these guys might be trying to make a run for a stage.
Yes, that's a very interesting just the sequence. Remember, we have the rolling stage in the league, so the caution will not fly, but the points will be awarded at the end of 25 and at the end of 50. So usually 40 laps-ish. Actually, as I'm kind of thinking, Tyler, I might readjust my estimates here because I'm trying to think maybe it'll be closer to 38 laps would be a real fuel load. So maybe 17 to 18 laps could be a fuel load here for 50%. I didn't get to talk to anybody ahead of time to clarify that. Saw some brief 3-wide going back there with Jacob Zala, Byron McDonald, and Jason Baker. Some close quarters racing off of one, and somebody nearly pancaking the fence there. Still pancaking the fence. Zala, not sure what's going on there, but don't want to damage that car too early.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to damage these cars too early, Corey, and you want to race hard, but at the same time, you got to maintain your equipment, and one little brush can sometimes spell disaster.
Yeah, these next-gen cars are a little bit more durable, as close quarters racing. Couldn't quite tell if McDonald was going to give Zala the run there, give him the space off the corner here. Kind of shades of Chastain and Hamlin, where you're going to give me space or not. You can pick which side of the coin you're on that battle, but these guys will still go side by side down the long front straightaway here, the longest straightaway in NASCAR, as a matter of fact, as we have some position changing, can't think of the word here, but that was the 06 of Holloman who hit the fence there on the exit of one. That gave second to Levine, and then Saucier and Sailors are going to battle for third and fourth here, and then just behind that we have Holloman now, Nathan Nixon, and Baker. He's trying to tag in here. So as these guys are racing side by side, they're putting that huge hole in the air. They're slowing each other up, and that's letting the other drivers catch up to them.
It seemed like Levine had a little bit of a rough start there the first 5 or so laps. It got shuffled back a little bit further, I think, than what he wanted. But he is slowly but methodically making his way up through the field onto second, and he's got his sights on our first place driver right now.
He has a sight set on him, but he's going to need a magnifying glass in order to find it, because now we're up to 3 1/4 seconds of a lead that Latham does enjoy over Levine. And remember, this is first and second in points, 218 points on the season for Latham to 190 for Levine. Jake Hickson, our third place driver in the point standings, and I am scrolling down our drivers list, and I do not see him present today, so that will hurt his efforts. Heath Snyder fourth in points, currently running in the 14th spot. Then running out our top 5, Tanner Marty, who is all the way back down in 17th, currently battling with Dakota Jorgensen. And just as I go to them, we have a spin. Dave Fuge Jr. in the IWX Mustang. He is going to spin into the pit entry here, do a donut. Unfortunately, not the kind you want to do, but that's going to keep us under green. I mean, that might actually work out in terms of strategy for him. Who knows? But let's go back and check it out on replay. See, they were 3 wide there, and let me just jump back just a second there. The 29 of Heath Snyder to the inside there. The 21 looks to the inside, Cody Riggs. I think that 3 wide kind of scared Snyder there, got him into Fuge, and Fuge did a great job of both not really getting damage, but also not triggering a yellow by spinning on the racetrack. So a good bit of driving in all capacities.
I think Fuge came down a little bit, but we've got some drivers coming in on pit road right now, Corey. I think the 06
Holloman and Sailors. So pit road here, 11 laps in. So this is well before, I mean, no matter how good of a fuel guesser I am, this is certainly well below the fuel limit. So they are definitely strategizing and preparing this for the stage. They'll still be able to stay out. Actually, I gotta calibrate my thoughts there, because there's not going to be a caution, so it doesn't matter if they stay out. There's no caution on the stage, so we'll see how it does shake out. But currently the race leader remaining on track. We'll see if he takes a hard left. Answer is no.
Yeah, staying out. Well, that's what I love about Pocono, Corey. All these different strategies, and also this league too. I'm not opposed to stages. I think they incentivize drivers to race harder throughout the race, but not having that automatic caution, I think, really spices things up.
Yeah, it definitely does it. I mean, the risk versus reward is I feel like it's really exemplified in this strategy, because you can, you still have the same points on the line, but you're not going to have that immediate reset. So you have to think of the tire strategy, the fuel strategy, and how much time is it going to gain or lose you on the racetrack, knowing that you're not just going to have that free reset to close back up to everybody.
Well, you just consider Pettit, who actually came in the pits on that first lap. I mean, he is still probably half a lap ahead of our leader right now. So, you can come in the pits as long as you don't make a big mistake. You're not at risk of really going a lap down.
Yeah, the pit delta here, we do have, since guys have pitted already, we do have some stats to go off of. So the pit delta here, which is the time from hitting the first cone until exiting the cone, including your pit stop. There was some strategy calls there on that stop. So Jordan Sailors did take 2 tires. He had a 14.7. Rather, he took 4 tires, excuse me. It took him 42 seconds to complete his pit stop from cone to cone. So it's about 54 seconds a lap. So he still has 10 seconds in the bank. So if you're within 10, 15 seconds of the leader, you can make a pit stop and stay on the lead lap. But we did see Holloman. He had a 9.7 second pit stop, so he chose
taking 2 tires, right?
Yeah, 2 tires and or just fuel only. I haven't really seen here. We'll pull up our leader's lap time graphic here, and you can see a 53.82 was his best lap on the day to a 54.46. So the leader has dropped off 0.6 on this run since the race started. So that would be what our fall off is. I mean, some drivers may be more, but I would have to assume that 0.6 would be the bare minimum. So you could take that into consideration here. But the 90 of Saucier and that is the 33 of Levine are in a contested battle for that second position here, coming off of corner number 3 and or corner number 6. I'll tell you, Tyler, that Evan and I have quite the dispute here on how many corners this track actually has, and it's actually been a little bit more of a debate this past week on how many corners Pocono actually does have.
Well, some would argue it's only 5.
Some would
they
argue
consider
it's
the
6.
tunnel turn. Yes, some say the tunnel turn is 1 turn, but what we consider turns 1 and 3 are actually 2 turns. So I'm of the opinion it's 3 turns, but if you go off of more of a road course mentality, you've got 5 or 6.
As you think about it, well, even look at Indy. I mean, Indy has 4 distinct corners, but they each have entry and exit. So per the logic of a Charlotte, why isn't Indy 8 turns? I mean, there was actually a video I watched where I think it was Bob Pockers asked the drivers, why do ovals have 4 corners? And none of the drivers could actually give a distinct answer besides it's just easier to tell the crew chief where the car is loose or tight. So
I guess it's a classic case of maybe Americans wanting to be different, just like the metric system.
I was just going to say that, the metric. So a little, the nuances of a PTRTV broadcast, but those guys are still battling. Timothy Latham up by 4 seconds. This is kind of turning into, if you were a subscriber who follows us on a regular basis, we had a race last night where we actually had, in a fixed setup race at Dover, we had the leader genuinely lap the field in a race that went green flag for 150 laps. I don't think Latham is going to lap the field here at Pocono, but the way this thing's starting off, he's definitely giving it the college effort to do so.
Or we've got more drivers coming off the pit road. I believe that's Tanner Marty and Cody Riggs, I think is who was coming off there.
Yep, indeed.
Some more drivers
and
trying a
Josh
different
Campbell,
strategy.
Josh Campbell, he is coming in that 2 ride. He's going to come down pit road here. So this is lap 17. So it's always nice. Jacob Sala, I remember he was into the fence a few times earlier. It's always nice if one driver stays out the entire, the longest possible lap, just because it tells us what the actual fuel window is. So I'm kind of hoping that somebody will stretch it to the last drop here, and we can kind of use that as our base point. But it does look like there is kind of a split bag on pit road, Tyler. At least 2 or 3 drivers, based on my back-end telemetry, have taken 2 tires. So interesting call there. Actually, as a matter of fact, Adam Pettit took 2 seconds worth of fuel on his pit stop. So not quite sure what got accomplished in that short of a time frame, but that's what he chose to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the strategy was either. I will say that if you are going to come into the pits when the field is not up to full speed, theoretically you're saving more time versus the rest of the field coming in on the first lap. But how that plays out with the rest of the race, I'm not sure. I don't claim to be a crew chief, Corey. I'm not a big math guy. I hate to say that, but I do love seeing all these different thoughts and strategies play out.
Yeah, if you're definitely taking like fuel only, you want to pit at that last second, because as you said, if you're only having to take a splash, and you know it's easier to calculate, as our leader does come down pit road here on lap number 18. It's easier to calculate a splash, in my opinion, than to calculate a full fuel load, and you're going to have, yeah. So I can kind of get that mindset as well. But as you kind of said for yourself, I'm not a crew chief. Every strategy race I've ever been a part of, I've lost or I've screwed up royally, so not the guy to ask there. Latham down pit lane. Chad, we got a couple different pronunciations. Gunnigsman, that's what I'm going to go with. Sorry, Chad. Maybe it's right, Chad. Who knows? But he's going to be down pit road. Jorgensen, so that's going to leave Prohl as the only driver down pit road. This is lap 19. And I'm just going to go on board with him and try to see if he's up to full song. As I look at the RPMs, I don't hear sputtering and doesn't sound like he's coasting. Although last lap he ran a 56.6, so that is a super slow lap.
That's about 2 seconds off the pace, Corey.
Yep, but here he's going to come down pit road, so maybe he had to save. So it looks like lap 19 is going to be our maximum, because that was the last driver to make a pit stop. Adam Pettit back to pit road. Remember, he took a 2-second pit stop earlier, and now he's going to come in and take a much longer than 2-second pit stop. Actually, that may have been the pit stop you talked about earlier, Tyler. You said something about a pit stop earlier, so maybe that 2-second pit stop was just referring to what happened to him earlier in the race. I'm actually thinking that may have been the...
Yeah, he was a splash and go. He didn't have hardly any time on pit road. Again, I thought it was a little bit strange. I don't know what he could have done to get a penalty. So I just don't know what the strategy is for that.
Yeah, well, strategy is very important in a race like this, where you are not having a caution to help you out. But right now, Blair Holloman is your leader. He is the leader due to the fact that he did take 2 tires on that pit stop. And just look at the run that Latham has off the tunnel there. Just like a cannon shot out of a cannon. Kind of a not good metaphor there. Broken metaphor, but you get the gist of it. He's going to blow right by him there. Can you fix that? Can you fix that for me, Tyler? What was I trying to say there? A cannon shot.
Trying to say he was shot out of a cannon.
Yes, not a bullet shot. Yeah, a cannon shot out of a cannon. So, anywho, let's take back the last minute of words. Try to find some stuff going on here. Nathan Nixon, he is to the outside, getting passed by Joshua Campbell here in the 2 machined. That is a matter of, I think, newer tires, because tires are seeming to be a big deal here. So the fresher the tires, the better you are going to fare.
Yeah, I wonder if some of these guys who pitted really early, Corey, maybe they took 2 tires at the start, perhaps they will just take 4 tires on the second go around and try and leapfrog with the time. I don't know. There's also a little bit of experimentation, I'm sure, going on. These drivers are trying to see, how big is the tire fall off, and with us not having a yellow yet, you really get a good chance to see it.
Thanks. I think the biggest thing is that with a 50% fuel load, you're only taking 1 can of fuel, and for some reason our stops here at iRacing are a little bit slower than it's supposed to be. I'm not digging there at all, but if you take that second can of fuel, that's what's putting you to a 13, 14 second stop. And since we have a 50% fuel load, we're only taking one can. So you can get those 2 tires changed, drop the jack at that 1 can and go. But if you want to take 4 tires, you are, you're waiting just on the tires. You're not waiting on fuel. So I think that may be the motive on some of these guys, just to, they know that the fuel's already there. Let me just go. Maybe we're just experimenting. But I'm just looking up and down the scoring pylon one more time on the back end here. I don't have this available to show at home. Looks like Fuge, who's currently running in 10th. And we have, that is Holloman. Actually, the only 2 that did take 2 tires, at least based on the stat sheet.
And right now, Holloman is still in 2nd place. He's got a comfortable lead over Jason Baker.
And then in terms of tires this evening, we have 5 sets in the pits per my pre-race analytics that I've been given. So with that being said, you're going to have more than enough tires here. We'll probably have 4 pit stops. Well, actually, let's extrapolate, Tyler, because this is having a green flag flare, which means it's going to be a caution next lap. If we have a caution on if you have to pit on lap 18, so 18 times 2 is 36. Add another 18 to that. Now I'm starting to push my mental math. 18 plus, what's 36 plus 18? 54? That sound about right?
Yeah, something like that.
And then 54 plus another 18. So now we're looking at what, like 70? So basically, for a 3-stop race, we're going to be short like 6 laps or so. So it's probably going to be a 4-stop race, but how are you going to kind of coordinate that 4th pit stop? I guess that's kind of the name of the game here. So maybe some of these guys already have a plan. Maybe some of these guys used a calculator before the race started, or maybe they'd probably do what I'd be doing if I was a driver right now and just coming up with it all on the fly and just hoping it somehow works out.
Corey, I want to point out, I jinxed him perhaps. Blair Hoyman, he was in 2nd place, and he is already fading, I think, back to, will be 5th place here in just a second.
But
his lap times are falling off considerably the last few laps.
But this is the stage lap right now, so even though he is dropping like a rock, he will finish, barring a catastrophic failure, he'll finish 5th. I don't see the 25 being able to get to him in half a lap, even with the tire fall off there. So he will have the stage points, but Latham is going to come through 3 here. And he is going to win stage 1. Again, our rolling stage. The points will be assessed, but the caution will cease to fire. We'll keep ourselves racing.
And so Levine's 2nd, Baker 3rd, Saucer 4th, Holman round out the top 5, Gainsman 6th, Campbell 7th, Nixon 8th. I think McDonald was 9th and Jorgensen was 10th, but I'd have to double check that.
That's what I believe to have as well. I think Fuge is taking a pass. Something happened to Jordan Sailors. Did he pit again or something? Because Sailors, remember, he's a top 5 driver, and now all of a sudden he is back in 12th. So I don't know if it was a bad pit stop or if he had a penalty or just, he's just really lost the handling, but he has really dropped off a cliff here.
Well, last lap, 56.127. That is definitely off the pace compared to some of these other guys, in particular.
Super high there. Let Snyder get by. Let's just kind of go on board for a brief moment if we can. Trying to just see if anything looks weird or anything. I don't see any damage. Last time by, he was at a 56.1, albeit he was getting passed. I'm not sensing any fuel saving or anything on those lines going on. Or maybe he's just genuinely lost the handle on that number 1 ride.
We've got a pass for 3rd place, Corey. Saucier.
Baker, I'm pretty sure I caught it on the end of the long shot there. Baker pounded the exit. The wall of turn number 2 there. Let's go back and quickly catch that on instant replay from our onboard. think he just lost the air as the 90 got by him there and just took the air off his nose through the center of the tunnel turn, and that just, he couldn't back off enough to evade the turn 2 wall. But Latham is closing in on Jacob Zala, who is going to be the first driver to go a lap down. He is just in front of our leader. He is 10 laps into his current run, so he's on the same strategy as everybody else, just not faring too well position-wise this evening.
Yeah, he's clearly having some handling issues, just a little bit off the pace, but I got to tell you, Timothy Latham is just dominating this field right now. And I mean, he could even take 4 tires, I feel like, and still probably stay in the lead if he keeps staying on cycle. More drivers coming in and off the pit road as well.
Yep,
I think that's Fuge and then the 06 of Blair Hoylman.
Yep, he must have just, since he got those stage points, I think he just decided that, you know, enough is enough. We have brought up our league sponsors on the bottom right of your screen, so we'll let those flash by for a few minutes and just check out and acknowledge and everybody who does help put this league on. But again, this is race number 5, so next we are going to be on a slightly changed schedule. So typically we do race every other week. The next scheduled race was August 8th at Michigan. However, due to a personal vacation, I will not be present for that race. So we're actually bumping it back for the broadcast's sake to August 15th. So we're going to have a 3-week hiatus with this series, heading to Michigan Speedway for 100 laps. And then we'll head to the first and only road course race of the season on August 22nd. At Watkins Glen, of course, the updated Watkins Glen that's been available for about a season or a year or two on iRacing now. And then we wrap up our campaign in September and early October, Daytona, Bristol, and the season finale at Texas Motor Speedway.
Gordon Saylor is another driver who just came off the pit road. Trying to see, we've got more drivers. Nathan Nixon, I think he's the only one right now, but these guys are all over the place, Corey, trying to figure out the best way to advance. I mean, some drivers are looking for stage points, some are trying to set themselves up for the best opportunity to win the race. But at this rate, though, I think Timothy Latham can do about whatever strategy he wants and still be out front.
Yeah, exactly that.
It's very impressive.
Exactly that, Tyler. He can play a very conservative strategy, knowing that once a caution comes out, the race is in his hands. He has it by the grasp, but everybody else is trying to work it out. We did see a couple drivers pit at lap 10, which was well before you needed to pit. We saw 19 being the absolute end, but remember, actually, let me grab my, I'm going to grab my trusty iPhone right now. And we're just going to do the math legitimately because there's nothing else going on. 18 times 2, that's 36, so another 18 is lap 54, and another 18 is 72. So if you just basically run the fuel load out, you'd be between 72 and 75 if you super want to stretch it. So that would be that'd be 3 stops. But if these guys, you know, they all have their different plans. As Tanner Marty, he is in the pits right now. They all have their own plans, and I'll tell you, there's no way for us to really know, Tyler. We're just kind of guessing along and just trying to figure out what these guys have up their sleeves.
Yeah, it is. I'm just trying to make sense of all this, Corey, as Jason Baker is on pit road as well.
Yep, the number 51 ride. He's had a couple good runs this season. He almost had the last to first challenge that they put on. They did it once at Nashville. They had the last to first challenge. If you got the pole and you won the race, you got a big prize incentive. He did get a minor prize incentive, but wasn't able to win that one. But having a good season for Baker. But taking another lap here, lap number 33. Our next stage will be at lap 50, but I think this is, well, actually, it's kind of hard to tell when there's a good time to go through the field because everybody is on such an alternate strategy. It's almost impossible to tell, but Holloman.
Well, one thing you got to consider, too, these drivers saving fuel, but heck, Timothy Latham was one of the last drivers to pit on that first run, and I don't think he was saving much fuel.
Yeah, he pit at lap 18, and I'm trying to remember who it was that pit on lap 19. I want to say, actually, memory's already passed me. It was a black car, I remember that much. Maybe it was Zala, I'm not quite sure, but somebody pitted on lap 19, but that's the latest. We're presuming that's the end of the fuel load right there. Somebody peeling off.
Campbell's leaving.
Adam Pettit peeling off out of about 12, 13 spot.
I think Heath Snyder also leaving pit road as well.
So up front, right as it stands right now, our top 8 are essentially all in the same ballpark right now, about being about 15 or so laps into their run. Currently following Justin Levine, you can see on screen here, his last stop was 15 laps ago. So by that logic, we'll see him in about 2 to 3 laps, and that same logic applies to just about everybody in the top 8. Cody Riggs, he will drop off and shorten that stat by 1 as he's going to come to the attention of his pit crew. But Latham out there just, I mean, I would say driving off into the sunset, because pretty much every race at Pocono this week ended at sunset, more or less. It's actually quite funny. On Friday night, the ARCA race, and this is just random banter for us. The ARCA race started at 6:45 at night for an 80-lap race. Like math literally said that was not going to work, and I think they ended up having to cut it by 20 laps. But then the Xfinity race ended at about 8 o'clock Eastern time, so I don't know why they're trying to do sunset races at Pocono. Maybe that's a foreshadowing that lights are coming in the future. But
well, that would be quite the endeavor. I mean, that's a pretty big track to put lights in, but
yeah, and they don't have the corporate backing, because this is one of the only. Well, this is between this and Indy, since now that Nashville and Dover have been bought out by SMI, you know, just taking the conglomerates taking over the little guys. This is one of the only 2 tracks, Indy and here, that is privately owned. So I think the estimates they were talking about it with Indy was $13 to $15 million it was going to cost to put lights up at Indy, when that was a rumor, as Corey Saucier down pit road.
Cody Riggs just left as well.
But, yeah, having a family-run track put up $15 million for lights for 1 race a year, that's a pretty hardy investment. I would not expect that.
Yeah, that would be pretty difficult to pull off, and I mean, it would be neat to see them go back to a doubleheader, maybe run a Saturday night race and then a Sunday race during the day. But, you know, that's fantasy me talking, and I know that's probably not the best idea from a business sense, but I love those old NASCAR Thunder 2004-ish games where you can unlock all the fantasy, the real tracks, but with fake lights. Yep. You know, at Martinsville before it existed, or Watkins Glen had lights, or wherever, as Chad Cunning pulling off.
Our leader is into the pits, as well as we'll just call him Chad G. How about that? That makes life a little easier. Yeah, that was a good time. I was actually trying to figure out how to get those to work via emulation the other day, because I don't have a PS2 anymore. But I do have the copy of the game, so it would not be illegal to download it, but I couldn't figure it out. But Jorgensen will come down pit road, and these guys will set up for a run to the stage on lap 50. So this will be the last of our field that needs to pit. So as these guys do shuffle back onto the racetrack, we're going to step aside for a minute, as we're basically at halfway, reset ourselves to cover the last half of the race. So stay with us. We'll cut back if anything happens, and we'll go to a brief side-by-side. we're back here on PTRTV after a brief little side-by-side break. Had to just grab our amenities and get ready for the last half of the race. Pit stop cycle has completed, so what we have right now is a bunch of different strategies. So let's actually do a through the field here, and I know, Tyler, you don't have all the analytics I have on the back end, so I'll kind of do a little description here. As somebody just pounded the fence. That was the 25 of Chad G. But well, let's briefly pause on that because there may be positions changing here. It's the 51.
Well, note, Latham just lapped Adam Petit. I'm sure if I pronounced Pettit. Sorry, keep pronouncing that wrong. My mistake. Adam P. But
I remember because there used to be a New York Yankees pitcher, Andy Pettit. So that's how I've been remembering that. But anyways, let's go ahead and do that through the field. That battle kind of ceased. So let's go ahead. Timothy Latham on track right now as our race leader. Let's switch it over to this graphic. He has been on the track for 6 laps. Justin Levine in second. He has been out for 7 laps. Chad Gunningsman, 6 laps. Corey Saucier, 7 laps. Jason Baker, 11 laps. So he's going to need a pit before these guys. He's going to probably have about 6 or 7 laps left in his tank. Blair Holloman, 15 laps. He'll be in any lap now. Josh Campbell in at 7th. He has 10 laps. He probably has about halfway in his stint. Dakota Jorgensen, 6 laps. 10 laps for Heath Snyder. 13 laps for Nixon. So you can see there about a split bag between short runs and longer runs. Byron McDonald, 7 laps. He's in 11th. Drew Crowell, 6 laps. He's in 12th. Jordan Sailors, 14 laps. He's in 13th. Remember, he's dropped off a cliff this race. He'll be in shortly. Tanner Marty, 12 laps. He's in 14th. It's Justin Boyles. I don't know why his data never comes up for some reason. But he pitted 8 laps ago. Adam Pettit, he pitted 10 laps ago. And then the last 2 drivers, Fuge 5 and Riggs 9. But the last 3 drivers are off the lead lap. But of course, Jacob Zala has retired from the race.
And Timothy Latham still off to a really great performance. I mean, I think it's going to take a caution or some kind of a mistake on his part to try and get this field bunched back together. Well, Latham was using that draft a little bit too. That was interesting going into turn number 1.
Actually, Tyler, if we look at the, if we kind of remember just a little bit, I think Latham had gotten the lead up to, roughly 4 seconds. It is down to 3 1/3. So Levine maybe, I'm not sure if maybe Latham's just kind of taking his foot off the gas because he has such a big lead, or if indeed that Levine's found something. Maybe he made a change on that last pit stop. But the lead definitely is smaller than it was, but he still has a long way to go.
It's interesting, too. You look at the lap traffic. I know that Levine got just a little bit held up there coming off of the tunnel turn by Adam P. I just keep pronouncing his name wrong, but maybe that's now Adams coming into pit road. So maybe that's a little bit of it, trying to navigate lap traffic. You just hit a car at the wrong spot going into a turn and hold you up a little bit, or maybe he has found something.
Yeah, remember, this is an open setup series, so the opportunity is there to make those small changes, whether it be wedge or tire pressure adjustments. Can't add tape anymore to these vehicles, but you can definitely still do the tire pressure adjustment, which basically acts like a spring adjustment, and wedge will fix your basic loose and tight conditions. So you have those on the table. Blair Holloman in the pits here, but just in the course of that last 2 laps, Tyler. So I think it definitely may have been lap traffic because that lead was back up to 3.8, and crossing the stripe looks like, yeah, it's going to be right around 3.8. So I definitely think lap traffic with the arrow push was causing some issues, but a battle still going on. Saucier and Gunningsman, that's just how I'm going to say it, Gunningsman. They've been side by side for quite some time. Fuge is right behind them. However, he is 1 lap down.
Yeah, side by side going through turn number 1. Still side by side. This is some great racing right here.
Yeah, down that long pond straightaway. Fuge kind of just splitting the difference here. He's like, I'm not trying to help anybody specific. I'm just going to swerve back and forth and share my draft equally. So can't really complain about any kind of bias there as we come down the chute here. So Pocono having these 3 distinct corners, and for the triangle shape, I think geometry says it would be a scalene triangle if I remember my geometry. Saucier really loose there off of 3.
I was amazed, Corey, to see them go side by side through the tunnel turn. I mean, it's already interesting enough to see them go side by side on the other 2 turns at Pocono, but that is one that drivers rarely want to go in there with multiple cars in different lanes, and they made it work.
Yeah, I mean, in the real world, they do have that resin and some residual PJ1 compound here, which does help out. We don't have it in iRacing, though I've seen that the outside groove has been working better. And of course, the tunnel turn is the tunnel turn, because you can see here on the top shot here from the blip cam, that is the tunnel. I mean, you know, sometimes corners just have weird names, but it's called the tunnel turn for a real reason. That is where the tunnel is. So naturally, in Pennsylvania winters, as I'm a New England native, Pennsylvania still has its fair share of winter storms and, you know, ground freezing and thawing. So it does cause a lot of bumps there. And this naturally, it's a fast sweeper, narrow corner. So it does make it very risky to make passes through. So we do have some more pit stops. Josh Campbell out of the 6th spot. He's going to come to pit road here. This is right at about the lap 15 to 16 mark for the majority of these drivers. Some drivers, a couple laps, they have a couple laps extra compared to that.
I think Tanner Marty just left pit road as well.
Yeah, Tanner Marty in that 55 machine. Remember, he talked about him in the point standings being a driver. I'm just trying to get my point standings pulled up on the back end here. Tanner Marty 5th in points here, but not having the best of runs, so he will most certainly lose some spots in the standings after the tricky triangle, unless he is able to pull a Herculean effort and come back. And I just have to go back to the battle up front, Tyler. The 25 and the 90 are just glued together. Fuge did manage to pass both of them. Fuge does have fresher tires just due to his pit sequencing. But they are just under a blanket, and we have some drastic cloud cover covering that section of the racetrack.
I was getting ready to say, I'm not sure if it was my computer or what, but it
whoa,
got
whoa,
very,
90
very
up.
loose. Very loose.
And luckily he backed off, and luckily as well the 25 was able to recognize what was happening there. As we're going to go back on replay and check that out from our chopper cam. See, he just missed the corner, and he just missed the corner entirely there. Like, he did not even get close to the apex at any point. But luckily for Chad Gunningsman, he was reading what was going on and acted accordingly.
That was a real heads-up move on Chad's part, and you know, we're getting that stage of the race too. It's been over 50 laps. I think fatigue is maybe setting in a little bit mentally for some of these guys, and it's real easy to just overdrive one of these turns.
Pit road becoming a busier place. Justin Levine, he is down into pit road now. Justin Boyles exiting his stall. Also have Heath Snyder and Jason Baker coming to the attention of their crews, but our race leader is still on circuit right now, lap number 51. And now that we're a little bit further in, I can kind of start doing my estimates a little bit more closely. So we have, let's just say for your leader as example, let's say he pits in 3 laps on 55. If he pits on 55, well actually 55 to lap 80, no, I don't think he would make that, because that'd be 25 to go. So still have 5 laps to...
Oh, got a caution, Corey. Caution is out.
Well, that changes everything. And I was struggling with math, so I'm actually quite glad something happened. But
10 sailors, I think, spun or something happened to him. Turn number 1.
So that we'll have to recalibrate the situation regarding the cautions. but replay on screen here from our chopper cam. They were 3 wide. Sailors was in the middle, and they kind of squeezed each other there. The 21 of Cody Riggs involved. I'm just get one more quick look at it from the TV cam.
And Tanner Marty was to his inside, but no contact on that end. I think he just came up a little bit.
I'm just not quite sure. Again, I don't like being overly analytical or critiquing. I just don't get why they were squeezing that tight of a 3 wide at this point in the race. But you know, hindsight is 2020 there. So
yeah, 13th, 14th, and 15th is what they were racing for at the time. So it wasn't like it was this great battle for the lead. Yeah, it's a little bit strange, Corey.
Yeah.
Way up high there.
Yeah, it happens though, but that's going to leave us 27 laps to go. And let's say everybody pits now. We're still looking at another pit stop. So no matter how you shake it, there's still going to be 2 more pit stops to go. And even if you don't pit here and you stretch it all the way out, actually, maybe that is a strategy. Who knows? Maybe if you stay out, save as much fuel as humanly possible. Maybe you can stretch this long enough to maybe get to lap 61. That might be a little bit too much of a stretch. So I think everyone's going to come to pit road here, and they're just going to have to find another timely way to make another pit stop, and someone's going to have to figure out something. This is your only opportunity to get back to Latham and have a chance at them. So someone's got to figure out something.
Yeah, I think I would take 4 tires, get a full load of fuel, and if I was running mid-pack or something, I would just do everything I could to try and save as much fuel, and maybe you can stretch it so far that you can end up in victory lane. I mean, that's the only strategy I can think of at this point. I think what you said, 25 laps, about what we're looking at. I think it's possible, or you could try to stretch it out just enough to maybe come and get a quick splash and go.
Yeah, I think
maybe that's a move as well.
Yeah, at some tracks, I think it's possible to save 4 or 5 laps. But the one thing about Pocono, where we are at a 2.5 mile track, I think saving what would that be? 2.5 times 5, that's like 15 miles of gas, something on those lines. 15, 18 miles of math. I don't feel like doing it. That's a lot to ask for out of that fuel cell. You might have to.
It is a lot. But I mean, I would already be cutting the engine, and also we could get another caution. Cautions breed cautions. Maybe you get another caution to get in there. You can cut the engine and stretch it out.
Now, interesting course of events. Justin Levine, he only took 5 seconds worth of fuel on that stop, so he's got something conjuring up, and I'm trying to see. I think it's going to go 1 to go, because we do have the quick cautions by default. That's iRacing implemented here. So a bunch of wave arounds. You can see here on board with the 33. There's about 6 drivers in front of him. So they will all get waved around and get 1 lap back. However, they're going to not be able to make a pit stop, so whether that's positive or a negative would be specific on strategy. But
well, if I were those drivers taking the wave around, I would probably lay back a little bit, and well, you have to take the green, I would say, but on the next lap I would immediately pit, because you are saving a bit of time because the field's not up to full speed and you have to take gas anyway.
Yeah, I think for them, so those drivers who are speeding around right now, Holloman, Baker, Campbell, Snyder, Marty, Boyles, they all have roughly 2 to 4 laps on this stint. So if I was them, I would run it until the fuel window opens and just stay out and just pit with the fuel window opens. And the only thing is, you're just going to lose that time with the old tires, but there's really no way to work around that. So it's the nature of a strategy race. That's what Pocono's known for. My brain's already spinning trying to process this all, but still got 25 more laps to make some more strategy decisions.
Well, Levine must be thinking that he's just going to run it hard, run it completely dry, and then just come in and get whatever he needs to go back out. because they're going to have to, unless they really stretch it, like my crazy mind is thinking, they're going to have to pit anyway. So if you're him, maybe go ahead and just take the quick
like
stop.
You said, take the 4 tires right now, do a splash later versus having to make one set of tires go 25, 30 laps, but nobody else is having to make that call. So if that's his decision, or maybe they're just banking, there's just going to be another yellow and all this is going to be negated. So I guess we're just going to have to find out together as the pace car is coming through turn 4, turn number 3 here at the Pocono Raceway. Levine will be the control car. He will fire off within the Geico restart zone. Waiting and waiting. We are in the zone. He's going to go late in the box there, getting the green flag going. He's going to get that car length advantage. See if he shuts the door on Latham. He does. Will Latham make a charge into 1?
They're fanning out towards the back, but pretty clean for our leaders.
And so far, Levine actually got quite a good run through turn 1 there. Managed to pull by about a car length, but this is where the handling comes in, not so much on the restart. It's going to come in once everyone's up to speed. We'll be able to see how those tires fare and ultimately what kind of pace he has in clean air. Latham really hasn't had to deal with competitive dirty air all race. Only dirty air he's really had has been slower cars, lap traffic. Hasn't really had to make a competitive pass, so this is the first time he's been in this situation as they're side by side with Jorgensen with a big wiggle there off of 3. Saucier to the outside, trying to see who's going to draft with who. McDonald to the outside, and Chad Gunnigsman, he's going to go to the inside and try to work with Jorgensen down there.
Yeah, they are side by side, a little bit spread out going into turn number 1, fighting for position. And right now, our leader is hanging on pretty tough, but he's getting stalked by Latham.
Yes, he is. Only about a car length back. And see here at the high speeds here, down that Long Pond straightaway. But so far, Latham able to... Oh, no! Jorgensen hard in the fence there off of 2. Didn't lose much time from it, but I saw that from the long shot there. He definitely got some... serious impact. The car doesn't really look that hurt from it, though. That's just kind of a test to how stiff these next-gen cars are, both a blessing and a curse, as the drivers have been saying these days. But Latham's going to have a huge draft down this front straightaway, and he's going to surge down to the bottom of the racetrack. The outside has been the better groove through turn 1, and you can see the momentum hanging on and persevering for Levine. He's going to hang on for now, but if Latham can get a run off the Long Pond straight into the tunnel, he should be able to clear, but not able to do so.
Yeah, Latham is trying to find a way to get around him, and let's not forget about our third place driver, Corey Saucer. He is right there with our top 2. Those 3 are kind of breaking away at the moment.
Yeah, and they're still racing quite aggressively for the back end of the top 10. Again, this next-gen car has probably put on some of the best racing I think Pocono has seen. It's kind of a shame that there is only one of them, to be honest. Can't believe I'm actually saying that I actually wouldn't mind another Pocono race, but the next-gen car has raced well. But Latham, I thought he was going to take that outside lane, but Levine ran the inside, kind of gave him the outside, but that's just kind of the name of guessing lines, and I think that time they guessed wrong. He's going to take a look to the inside. Levine's not going to block it, surprisingly. He's going to leave the door open. They're going to run side by side into the tunnel. Can the 33 use the outside through the tunnel and keep the momentum wound up? So far, the answer is yes. We'll see what happens in 3.
Yeah, still side by side. I'm just, as they're battling for first and second here, Corey, I'm wondering if some of these other drivers are maybe just trying to stay in the draft and save as much fuel as possible.
Yeah, it all depends. Right now, the fuel window would open up in about 2 to 3 laps. Right around probably lap 63, I would probably say would be the safest lap to pit. In order to make it to the end, of course, if you want to consider a green-white checker, you may bump that back by a few laps. But look at Saucier. He's going to be battling to the outside of Latham here. Was not expecting that to happen. And Levine is going to go down and pick up Latham and try to give him some kind of draft down the long pond. Saucier is going to have to fall back into line there, but maybe that 90 machine, they turned that car on that pit stop. They made the right wedge adjustment. They made the right tire pressure adjustment. Or Levine's just, or rather, Saucier just likes that clean air. But whatever's happening, that 90 car is a player in this fight.
No, those top three are right now the three fastest cars out there at the moment. I am just impressed that Levine has been able to hang on to that lead. I know sometimes having that clean air is really helpful, but maybe he knew that his car would handle better in clean air, and he could also hold up Latham a little bit. You know, different strategy than some of these other drivers, but it may work out for him.
I'm pretty sure here, I just pulled up his onboard telemetry. I'm pretty sure he stayed in 4th gear all the way down the front straightaway. So very interesting here with the different gearing and the different tactics here. I didn't even think there was enough torque in the enough power band to run down the front straightaway here in 4th gear, but apparently there was. We'll double check it with the telemetry up this time by. But yeah, to your point, Tyler, I'm absolutely mind blown. He's managed to hold on, but look at Latham here. To my old analogy, he's a cannon shot out of a cannon. And he's going to have the run down to the inside here on the front straightaway. But again, that outside lane into 1 has been quite favorable. But if he can send it in deep enough, Levine's going to send it in deep. He's going to try to keep to that outside, keep a quarter panel there, keep him in check. He's going to do that. He's going to use that outside through 1. And let's see if he can clear him. Saucier is going to try to give him a little bit of shove. He's too far back. Levine's going to have to send it in on the outside into the tunnel.
It's really difficult to pull off, but man, they're making it work right now. Levine keeps fighting as they're heading off into turn number 3. Every time I think that Latham's going to make the move and get the lead, Levine just keeps fighting back.
But Saucier is getting close enough there. He probably got close enough to the left rear to get him a little bit loose, but Saucier, where is he going to go? He's too far back to provide any immediate draft. Latham trying to side draft in any capacity he can. He's going to pull him back here just a little bit on the entry to turn number 1.
This might be the move right here, although...
Well, look at the 33.
Levine.
He drives it in deep, man. He drives it in deep. And he manages to just do what he needs to do. And I think Saucier is close enough this time that he's able to give a draft. But look at the 33 going down and pulling the 5. I don't get the strategy on him. Why do you want to help Latham out right now?
I just don't understand how he's pulling that off. First, I know the outside's the preferred groove, Corey, but man, the way he is driving it into particular turn number 1 like that, I just don't know how he's able to pull that off.
And is it sustainable? How are those good Eagles reacting to sending it off there? But look and see on board with Saucier right now, and he's really squarely off of 3, and that's the worst corner in NASCAR to not be good in, because it just sets you up for this near 4,000 foot long front straightaway. But
well, you mentioned Justin Levine, staying in 4th gear all the way down the front stretch. It reminds me a little bit of Ryan Newman back in the mid 2000s, basically running the chip. But I wonder if that's going to hurt the engine or make the temps or anything go too high if he keeps doing that throughout the rest of this race. I don't know enough about the engine wear in these cars, but that would be a little bit concerning for me.
Definitely wouldn't hurt things. I do think Saucier in the 90, I think he is starting to get a little bit tight there off of the exit of about 3 or 4 corners in a row. He has been within millimeters to bring up the metric system there of hitting the wall. But even Latham, about lap or 2 in a row, he hasn't been close enough to make a side-by-side move. So is tire wear coming into play here? Is the fuel wear, the short fuel load in these cars naturally makes them get tighter because you don't have that weight in the rear. So running on an empty fuel load is really going to add to that. And just to bring it into scope here, we are lap 11 into this stint. We are within the fuel window to finish this thing out with a pit stop at any time right now. But who is going to draw first blood?
Well, Adam P. came in. I wasn't sure if he was having to pit early because I'm not sure if he was a wave around car, but these top 3 drivers will approach him eventually if they can keep this pace.
And look at Saucier off of 3. I think he got one of the better runs he's got. He kind of sent that energy towards Latham. At least that's how it appeared anyways. Latham's going to have a head of steam into one, but he's not going to have enough. He's going to choose to stay in line, and look at him use that upper lane. If you're Levine, you probably want to block that, put that dirty air on his nose, and I think he did just enough of that. He's going to keep him steady there and just not trying to create too much drama, Tyler, but that second pack is only about 2 seconds behind these guys.
Yeah, and they were pretty much lined up. They don't seem to be battling too hard at the moment, and maybe trying to save fuel as well to stay in the draft. We don't know for sure, but we're not having a big breakaway like we did in the first half of this race.
Saucier starting to drop off by a little bit. Not sure if he used up all the good on those Dr. Feelgoods. I guess they're just Dr. Fields now, because he's starting to drop off and about a half second back. And maybe if you're him, maybe this is the best time to make that pit stop before you fall too far back. Maybe you want to make that stop as Byron McDonald and Drew Prohl will find their way down to pit road. They were at the latter end of the top 10, but just can't say enough, Tyler. We've said it about 4 or 5 times. I'll say it the 6th or 7th. I am absolutely floored that Latham has not found a way by yet.
Well, and Justin will have to pit before Latham. You know, he only took a little bit of fuel compared to the rest of the drivers. I don't know how much longer he's got on his fuel run, but that's definitely going to shake it up eventually, with Latham no longer having that dirty air in front of him.
But I don't remember when he pit, because he may have only needed 5 seconds to fill the fuel load up too. I just don't remember when he pitted in sequence to when that caution came out. So he's, my guess is he took all the fuel he needed and just didn't take tires. But here comes Latham. He's going to surge to the inside. This hasn't worked yet, but maybe it'll work this time by. That outside lane has just been where you want it. I know we don't have any virtual resin, but whatever is going on with that outside lane, it's the right place to be. And the 33 will carry on, and Saucier is trying to hang in the draft there, about 6/10 back, but slowly dropping back as there will be some lap traffic within a lap or two. Is a big wiggle there from Levine through the tunnel.
Here in the TV booth with you virtually, Corey, above the grandstands on the front stretch, you know, every time I see those two dive into turn number 1, I think there is no way in heck that Levine will be able to hold in there with that angle. Oh, we got a tanker coming in pits. Yep. 90
into the pits, and it might be Saucier, but I'm just adding a French accent to it. It's like, what was that back in the 90s? I don't know if you ever saw that episode of Winners, Tyler. You probably have, knowing you. There was a French reporter that thought Neil Bonnet was pronounced Niles Bonet. So there was a running gag where they called him Niles Bonet for a while. So maybe I'm just doing that with Saucier. But either way, battle for the lead. Latham's looking to the inside and through the tunnel. This is probably the best chance. You don't want to do this. This is risky for...
They're almost together. Oh my goodness. I don't know how they didn't wreck from my vantage point, Corey. That was tight. You
got to have some brass cojones to do that, especially for Levine, where you're on the outside. You see that wall coming up, and you got to have some brass cojones. But here he's going to come. He's going to draw blood.
Yep.
This is going to be 1 lap fresher tires if he can get it wound down. He did lock it up, but this could be 1 lap fresher tires, Tyler, which doesn't sound like a lot, but on iRacing, 1 lap fresher tires is an appreciable amount on the stopwatch. So let's see if he can get into his pit with no issues. Looks like he did so successfully.
And don't forget about Saucier. Not sure, Corey, but whatever. You know, he's got 1 lap fresher tires as well, and he was not that far behind our top 2.
Tyler, I don't know if you can go back on your replay and find out, but I can see on my telemetry a 9.4 second pit stop for Saucier. So that would dictate to me 2 tires. And Levine exiting the pits now with a 14-second stop. So that would dictate 4 tires. So strategy call on the 90. Difference on the racetrack is about 3 seconds between the 33 and the 90, with some slower cars in the middle.
Yep, Corey, I went back and looked at the replay, and he did indeed take 2 tires. Just the right side, car 90, in and out.
And Latham is on pit road right now, so let's see what he does. He has that number 1 pit stall all the way behind the pace car at the turn 1 side of pit road. Right side's in the air. Now the $1 million question. 2 tires for Latham. So fuel is not a concern now. It's just, let's see where he blends out.
I think is going to get him.
Yes, Saucier.
He's got all the momentum on the outside.
They're going to be side by side.
Wow.
Saucier is going to have the older tires, though, but he's going to have the momentum, and the tires are going to be up to temp. You can see that blue car on the long shot there. That's Latham, or rather, that's Levine, but he has 3 cars to pass and 10 laps to do it. But Saucier is going to hold on to that lead. Now, are those 2-lap older right side tires going to be appreciably slower? We'll have to find out.
He was in dirty air before, but we noticed he started to fade at the end of his fuel run there on that last go around. But now he's in clean air, stretching it out just a little bit for the moment.
And what I'm going to do right now, you can see Levine here trying to make a pass on Drew Prohl. To get him into 5th. He's 3 seconds back, Tyler, and I'm just going to look at the stopwatch here, and I don't think that there's going to be 3 seconds worth of fall off here. Last time by, about a 53.7 for the 25 of Chad Gunningsman, a 53.9 for Saucier, and Levine at a 53.5, so nearly a half a second. So, I mean, a half second times 9, that's 4.5 seconds. So if he can keep that up, theoretically he could get himself up there, but I don't think that pace is going to sustain.
Tough, especially with McDonald is ahead of him, Chad Goonsman, and then you get to Latham and then Saucier. So you got some really competitive and tough drivers you've got to get past first, deal with that dirty air. It's theoretically possible, but I think he's going to need a miracle.
Yeah, and Latham, again, that dirty air just hasn't suited that number 5 very well. He just, he drove off 4 or 5 seconds. Kind of, unfortunately, as a Jeff Gordon fan, it brings me back to the mid-2000s where he would have lights out faster car as Levine getting himself up into 4th. He would have a lights out faster car, but as soon as he got into traffic, he was 10 times worse than any other car was in lap traffic. They did not set those cars up very well to be in dirty air, and it just seems like that's the story with the 5, where he's just a lightning bolt when he's up front, but just not quite that same experience when he has a faster car in front of him.
Yeah, and right now we've got 1 lap car. I believe that is Joshua Campbell that they are navigating traffic through, and the next car up would be Heath Snyder, and he's quite a bit ahead of our top 2. It's a pretty clean track for the moment.
Yeah, so that shouldn't be a concern. And Levine only has the 25 in front of him, so he'll be able to actually use that to his advantage for a little bit, because he's going to get a little bit of a tow. The best thing for him would be for these top 2 to start battling, which they are about a 10th or 2 apart. Big wiggle from Latham there. He's really wheeling it off the tunnel there. So if they start battling, that brings Levine in it, and that brings Levine in it with fresh tires. So that's probably the thing that he's the most going to hope happens. But so far, it doesn't look like that 4-tire call is going to be the money call this evening, but still have 6 laps to go. Plenty of time. Here comes Latham with the move to the inside. It didn't work on Levine. Will the inside move work on the 90? See him get tight there through the center. And the 90 just uses that run and that momentum off the top. And he's going to still be able to keep that fender, try to side draft him. Now, how are they going to get through the tunnel side by side?
He might try to make a crossover move here, Corey. We'll have to see.
Nope, couldn't do it.
Nope. Now Latham has clean air. Yep. I think that for Levine's sake, he needed those guys to battle a little bit longer to try and catch up to him.
Because he still does have to pass the number 25 machine. So he's not completely, he does have that to hold him up from setting complete sail on the leaders, but just in that one corner of Latham being up front, he pulled him by a half second. So, but if you're Justin Levine now, I guess it's, how do you feel right now? I mean, you didn't come into this, the way the race started, you didn't really think you had a chance at it. And then all of a sudden, you kind of had, I don't want to say the race, you didn't have it in the bag, but you had it in your command, in your grasp. And as we were talking about losing a race on a strategy call, that's never a fun way to lose them.
Well, Levine, and we're not sure if he took no tires or 2 tires on that last caution pit stop, but you know, maybe the thought was he couldn't make it without 4 tires on that last run and still be competitive. You know, hindsight's 2020. We don't know what his thought process was, but man, he is like almost bump drafting our 3rd place driver, Chad Gunningsman, down that front stretch and just kind of hanging in there with him.
Yeah, so 2.2, 2.4 seconds, and that's just not going to happen in 4 laps. He's going to need to get by. I don't quite get why he's not pulling out and making a pass. He's definitely faster. There he goes to the inside in the tunnel. Not quite sure why he wasted an extra lap or 2, but again, don't know entirely what the situation is, but he's what is he, 2 seconds even off the pace of the 90, so I don't really even see him getting second. So basically our top 3 is still the top 3 we had before that last stop. It's just a little bit shuffled from where it was prior.
Yeah, it's getting pretty spread out throughout the field at this moment as I'm looking around.
23 going all the way down to the checkered flags there, about 7 lanes below, trying to break the draft from Drew Prohl there. So you don't want to do that on this straightaway because that inside below that yellow line is very, very bumpy. We actually saw it break a suspension in the Coke Series race, and one of the Coke Series drivers actually lost a tire from it. So definitely do not want to run that low, and he did not do that. But Latham up by nearly 3/4 of a second just shows how much that air really meant and how much the 90 was holding him up, because now that he can run his line, he's just out there doing what he was doing all throughout stage 1.
I'm looking at the last car on the lead lap, and that's Heath Snyder in 13th position. He's got a pretty good gap still on Latham. I don't think Latham will have enough time to catch up to him, so I think it's going to be pretty clear for Timothy Latham.
Yeah, I would have to say so myself, Tyler, because if a caution's going to have to come out, it's going to have to come out very, very quickly. And so far, it does not appear as it's going to. And I'm just going through the list here as I can. And tentatively, if I'm reading the telemetry right, I do actually think Corey Saucier is going to win the ACR fastest lap of the race award. Auto Care Recycling, I believe it is. The text on my screen is pretty small there, but final award will be given out. But the white flag is in the air for Latham, up by 1 second over Saucier, coming into turn 1 for the final time.
Yep, he's got a pretty good gap still on Corey Saucier. Justin Levine in 3rd position, still quite a few car lengths back. You know, Timothy Latham did a great job today, Corey. Dominated really the first half of this race and managed to just keep pushing, and now he's about half a lap away from getting that checkered flag.
Yeah, he dominated the first stage. He got tested through the middle and second, third of the race, but managed to persevere and find the magic touch. He's going to come off the final corner here at the Pocono Raceway with 1 1/4 seconds in the bank. Timothy Latham is going to win at the Tricky Triangle. Saucier and Levine are podium positions this evening.
Yeah, just truly the master. This is a very unique venue, Corey, and for him to come in here to battle like he did, you know, really show, it was very impressive just all around, everything that he did to win today. Timothy Latham, hats off to him. Yeah,
and a great just run overall for these guys, because very seldom, you know, 1 caution is all we had tonight, Tyler. Just 1 caution on the evening. So congratulations to a great race, and of course Latham for pulling it off. But let's go ahead and give you the final rundown of results here today from the Pocono Raceway. Latham with that win by 1 1/3 seconds over Saucier. Levine with that 4-tire call didn't work out. He's going to fall back to 3rd. Chad Gunningsman with the 4th. Byron McDonald with a 5th. Drew Prohl is going to finish in 6th, with Blair Holloman in 7th. Justin Boyles, Dakota Jorgensen, and Jason Baker rounding out our top 10.
In 11th tonight, Tanner Marty to his outside. In 12th, Adam P. or Petite, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. In 13th, the 29 of Heath Snyder. And 14th, the number 2 of Joshua Campbell, who was your first driver a lap down. And 15th, Dave Fuge Jr. 16th, Jordan Sailors. Started off so well, just tough break for him. 17th, 21 of Cody Riggs. 2 laps down in 18th, Nathan Nixon. And rounding out the field, had an early end to his night, the number 66 of Jacob Souza.
That is our final running order here this evening, as we have our top 3 guys on the front stretch here, and try to find a good camera for them. Of course, I don't quite have the one I want, but that's just what happens sometimes. But let's go ahead and start our post-race interviews this evening with, we'll head right to victory lane and grab Timothy Latham. All right, Timothy, you dominated stage 1. You really got tested there in the middle segment. Strategies were all over the place, and that 33 really turned it up and took the air off you and slowed you down there, and almost beat you until that last strategy call on the final pit stop. Just talk about that race. It was all over the place from our perspective.
Yeah, it was really fun out in the first part of the run there. We led a huge chunk of the first 50 laps before the caution, and I think I might have won both stages. I really wasn't paying attention, honestly. I was just trying to hit my marks, but I knew Justin was going to come through the field. He's my teammate outside of this league, and we usually run the same stuff, so I know he was going to be quick tonight. He usually never qualifies just so he can come through the field. It's always a pleasure to see that. But yeah, that last pit stop, I'm not sure what happened to him. I don't know if he got into pit road or out the pit road slow, and we gained a lot of time on him. But it was fun racing with him, and especially Corey there at the end too. I had a lot of fun out there tonight for sure.
Yeah, and you guys you put on a hell of a show, and especially with the fuel loads here being as short as they are. Did you have any kind of strategy plan coming into it, or was your brain just fried trying to figure out laps and how many to go and how many you can go and all that such?
I kind of knew we were all going to get around 18 laps, a fuel tank. Mainly what I was worried about was, trying to get a little bit of a lead on those guys and maintain it the first run. So if we stayed green, then I could have a sizable lead there, and I'm kind of glad they were racing really hard that first little bit so I could get out front and lead all those laps. But I was a little worried when I knew Justin had pit right before that caution came out, and I knew he had just taken tires and he was probably going to come down and get fuel and get the lead. So it had me worried there when he was in front of me. I was on his bumper the whole time. I just couldn't pass him. It was tough, but he pulled off in front of me there, and that helped me a lot with that clean air.
Yeah, he played that all-pro defense there, but the strategy didn't work out for him, worked out for you. Who do you want to give a shout-out to for your victory here tonight at the Tricky Triangle?
Just shout out to everybody that makes this thing work. We got Flashpoint Racing, part of Frontline Esports. Want to thank them. Bruzy Raceware, Racer Apparel, Don Wheaton GM, Edge Setup Shop. I want to thank Raise Energy. They're always on the car. Rep Sports G-Pop. Thanks all those guys for putting this together, and thank you guys for putting on the broadcast for us.
All right, anytime, man. We'll catch you in, I think, 3 weeks' time at, I think, Michigan it is.
I believe so.
All right, well, have a good night, man.
All right, you too. Thanks.
And we have Tyler has caught up with the 90 of Corey Saucier.
Hey, Corey, great run tonight. So close. How hard was it to try and hold off Latham there in the last few laps?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be pretty much an impossible task with the car that he had all night. He was definitely the guy to beat. I took 2 tires there at the end, trying to hope, not having a full run on that last set might be able to get me enough of an advantage. Thought I had a shot at it, but maybe with about 6 or 7 to go, I realized it probably wasn't going to work. And definitely happy to come in second here in my first race, coming down from the race control booth. So, can't be too mad with that.
Yeah, you were definitely competitive all night, and you mentioned the 2-tire strategy there on the last run, and I think that was maybe your best chance of trying to get to victory lane. But what was your strategy throughout the race? There's always different pit maneuvers and things happening at Pocono. Do you have anything in mind going into it?
Yeah, just figured, this is a pretty big track, pretty wide track, not a terribly big field. So definitely thought, fuel mileage and strategy was going to come into play. So just wanted to get 2 runs under it, running the fuel that we do only at, 50%. So wanted to see what we had, but, really was just going to take it lap by lap, see how it played out, and, adjust on the fly as we go.
What would you like to give a shout out to tonight, Corey?
Yeah, I want to thank Gagny Graphics, Flavor Bomb, Dynamic Autosports, Rat Pack Racing, and obviously Dave Fuge for putting this league on. This is a great group of guys, and hopefully we can keep this going.
Well, congrats on the runner-up finish, Corey. That was really a great run by you, and we'll see you in a few weeks at Michigan.
All right. Appreciate it, boys.
Back to you, Corey.
All right, and I've caught up with third place here, Justin Levine. And Justin, we were pulling for you, man, because you had that alternate strategy call. Your car kind of came alive there at the end. We didn't think Latham was touchable, but you were playing all-pro defense there, the probably second, third of that race. But that 4-tire call was talk about that strategy call and overall how the race went for you.
Man, I gave it my all there. I really thought 4 tires versus 2 that I would have just a better bite off the corner and I would be able to eat them up, and it didn't work out. But the last few laps, maybe if we had a few more laps, I was coming there. But I'm very happy still. Third place, can't complain. Very happy for Tim and Corey. I had a lot of fun racing them today.
Yeah, it was a good race to watch, man. But just talk about, so obviously Latham, he just pulled out into oblivion there in the first part of the race, and after that caution, it just seemed like he wasn't as lights out as he was. Did you make any changes to the car, or was it just a matter of having better track position to being able to stay with him and actually end up, arguably being a little bit faster than him at the end?
It was a little of both. The first run, I had to come through the field, so I burnt my stuff up just getting to second. And then by the second or third pit stop, I kept trying to short pin him by at least a lap, and I was chasing the track. The track just cooled off tremendously, and it made the car tight. So I just kept making bigger and bigger swings to loosen it up.
Yeah, it worked for you, and still got a podium effort. I know losing it on a strategy call is the most frustrating way to lose it, at least in my experience, but it still works out on the podium. You can't complain about third too much. Who do you want to give a shout out to for tonight's efforts, man?
Shout out to you guys. Can't wait to go back and watch the broadcast. You guys do such a great job here.
Yeah, we
gotta thank Dave and all the admins for having me and putting this on for us. Everyone back at Frontline. The car was super fast. I had a lot of fun driving it. Shout out to my girlfriend back at home.
Yeah, I think hopefully you have a good time watching it back. We had a lot of fun calling it, man. Congrats again, and maybe we'll talk to you at Michigan in a few weeks.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
All right, so that is our post-race interview, and that's our broadcast here tonight. Tyler, again, this league, especially with the setup of it and the 50% fuel loads, it never ceases to put on a good race. My brain is fried having to deal with all those numbers, but we saw a thriller of a finish here tonight.
This really was a fun race to be up here in the booth with you, Corey. And, the first half or so, you got a little bit strung out, but still a lot of strategy, and then also a lot of excitement there with Latham, Saucier, and Levine just battling between the three of them in the last segment. So can't wait to be up again in the booth with you for another one of these.
Yep, of course. So if you are a fan of 3Y TV, make sure you like and subscribe if you have not done so. We'll be back with you for some more action on Saturday night. I'm trying to remember here our schedule off the top of my head. We'll be back Saturday night with the 100% Cup Series, and we'll have a full week next week as well. Won't be back with these guys for 3 weeks with the schedule, so make sure you follow our social medias, and stay tuned for the next broadcast. But signing out of the booth here tonight is Corey and Tyler. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.